Hey folks, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to Ed Talk. So today I would love to share a video with you by Jordan Peterson at the University of Toronto, where he talks about some of the keys to a happy marriage. It's very interesting. In fact, I feel you can apply a lot of these key elements to a relationship itself, not even a marriage, but just to a partnership. And I will also say that I have been married for 35 years. I met my wife when I was 11 years old. So there's some history there. And I'd like to also say that I have a little experience about what I think a marriage should be like. So as we watch the video, I may interject at some points and give you my opinion on what he's saying, and then have some final thoughts after the video. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into it.
You want someone, I think, in a relationship that you can spar with. And it's partly because you have hard problems to solve. And if the person that you're with isn't willing to put forward their opinion, then you only have half the cognitive power that you would otherwise have. Now, and hopefully you find someone who's interestingly different from you, like not so different that you can't communicate, and you have to be careful of that, but interestingly different. And then hopefully they have the ability and the will to express their opinion. And then, well, then it's, then your interest stays heightened. And there has to be that tension in a relationship. People think, well, I want to get along perfectly with my partner. It's like, no, you probably don't.
Okay, so just real quick, he talks about you don't really want to get along perfectly with your significant other or your spouse. My thought is that in the time that I have been married, I love getting along with my wife. I cherish it. I can tell you that there is nothing to say that getting into a disagreement with my wife that I like. And that kind of tension for me personally doesn't feel good. If I get up in the morning and I have an issue with her in any way, or she has an issue with me, and we start to battle over the stupidest things, which is usually what a lot of these arguments are over, stupid things, my day is not going to go well. It's just not. I want to know that I'm starting my day off on an excellent note, and I want to know that I'm ending it on an excellent note. Now, all that being said, we aren't perfect. We are going to have shortfalls, and we are going to get into these disagreements in our relationships. And that's why, honestly, the biggest word I think that we are all accustomed to, and that is probably the most used, is the word sorry. Learn to use it well and say it with, the heart condition that you should probably say it with. Anyway, that being said, let's move on.
You just get bored, and then you go looking for trouble. And so you want a little bit of trouble in the relationship, and a little bit of mystery, and a little bit of combativeness, and the ability to exchange opinions forthrightly. And I trust her, which is a huge element. I mean, when we finally did decide to get together permanently, we were both in our later 20s. And, one of the things that I had learned by that.
Okay, before I forget, trust. That's probably, I would say, on the top of every relationship's list is trust. I cannot emphasize any more about how important it is than what he's saying, because losing trust can come in it can start in small stages. If you're a man and you're walking with your wife down the street and you see a pretty woman coming your way, and you glance at that woman as she walks past you, that is a level of trust. That is a segment of trust that has been broken. Now, I know to some men, the philosophy is, well, as long as you don't touch, it's okay. No, it's not okay. It's not okay to look at other women, and it's not okay to well, just to do that. All right, I'm just going to say that whether you're in a relationship about to get married or whether you're in a marriage, okay, it all starts with a seed, guys. It all starts with a seed, and for you women too, it starts with the seed. You have to inculcate this amount of trust in your relationship that starts, you know, whether it's physically, emotionally, or um, you know, even if it's not like, well, basically that's it. So anyway, let's move on and see what else he has to say.
That point and insisted to her about was that we had to tell each other the truth. And she took to that wholeheartedly, and for better and for worse, because truths can be harsh.
Does that include, like, does this outfit make me look really fat?
Yeah, well, the truthful answer to that is I don't answer questions that are likely to get me in trouble. Yeah, so.
I have a.
We know he's kidding. He probably does answer. He's making a joke. Obviously, you know that. My wife wore a pair of shorts about a week ago. She asked me how she looked in it. I didn't tell her I didn't like them, but I did ask her that the shorts she wore prior to that looked nice to me. And my goal is not to try and make her feel bad for the shorts that she purchased, or that she's wearing doesn't look good on her. It's just giving her opinion on another pair of shorts that she was wearing that I liked better. So the way you say things to your significant other or to your wife is very important. Tone, the words that you say, all of that plays a role in keeping your relationship respectful and tight. Let's move on.
Son will answer honestly, and it's infuriating. But then I realized if you want the truth, talk to Tamara.
Well, that's the thing. It's useful to know.
The truth is empowering. Truth tellers are charismatic, and actually both my sons are like brutally honest, which is disconcerting.
Yeah.
But I can see that it's made them very formidable, and because of the people trust them and the friendships, and just it gives them and you've written a lot about this.
Well, if I tell my wife that she looks good in an outfit, she knows that I mean it.
Yeah.
And so there's some utility in that.
And then if you're silent and say, I don't answer questions, that she goes and she knows.
Well, sometimes she'll say, do you like this? And I'll tell her that I don't. And that doesn't necessarily make her happy in the moment. But if I do say I like it, she knows that I mean it. And I actually like her sense of style a lot. So it turns out that 90% of the time it's pretty easy for me to say, look, I think you look great, and mean it.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a fairly harsh standard bearer too. Like she's insisted that I stay in whatever reasonable physical shape I happen to be in. That was something that she's very demanding of.
Okay, so let's get into that part. That's very important in a relationship. Look, I understand as we get older, as we age, we become a little more lackadaisical in our daily activities. We become complacent. We're comfortable. I'm going to say this, men and women, just stop thinking that way, okay? Remember what it took to get him. Now you have to work at what it takes to keep him or her, okay? I'm not saying that you're going to have that perfect body all the time, but what I will say is make an effort physically and mentally to keep yourself together. All right? You don't have to go to the gym 7 days a week, 4 hours a day. All you need to do is take little steps in a relationship to make yourself physically better. Okay? That's all you need to do. He's right. He's right. And guys, I'm going to tell you this. If you're walking around with a beer belly and you are complaining about your wife or your girlfriend having to look like, an A-list model, you need to recheck yourself, okay? She doesn't want to come home anymore to someone who doesn't care about themselves as you may not be caring about your spouse. So make a collaborative effort, both of you, to keep relatively fit. Not excellent, but relatively fit, okay? For the long run. This is for better or worse. I get it. But don't be lazy. Do something about yourself and you feel more confident. You'll feel more confident in your marriage. You'll feel more confident in your clothing. You'll want to do more as a couple simply because you take care of yourself. Let's move on.
And I would say that it's the same from my side. And we've been good at negotiating, which is, what do you want from a partner fundamentally? What do you want and need? I mean, the first thing is that, well, hopefully you, like I said, you're blessed with the fact that you find each other attractive. And I think it's very difficult for the relationship to begin or proceed or sustain itself without that. But having that, then what do you want? Well, you want someone that you can trust. You want someone that you can build a view of the future with. And you want someone that you can negotiate with. And that's very hard to negotiate with people because they have to tell you what they think. They have to know what they want or figure it out. They have to tell you what they want. They have to be satisfied when they get what they want, which is also a very difficult thing to manage. And you have to continually update that because your life goes through different stages. And
Well, your attraction wanes, as we all know at our stage of life, not fatally necessarily.
Speak for yourself.
but you will go. I mean, you will not be 25 forever. So that has to be renegotiated.
yeah, well, and you have to work at that too,
Right.
and that's something that people also don't understand because they tend to think that, well, that all romantic interaction should be spontaneous. It's like, well, if that's your theory, then you might as well just give up right now if you're going to get married, because that, like, the only reason you can think that is because you don't have enough responsibility to make romantic entanglement virtually impossible. And what happens when you're married, especially when you have little kids, is that, and you both have a job, let's say, is you're so busy that the probability that you're going to find time for spontaneous mutual interaction decreases to zero. And so if that's what you're hoping for, then you're never going to have it. And so what you have to do is you have to make time for each other. And, if you're dating, when you're establishing a relationship, well, you put some effort into it. You decide that you're going to go out for dinner and you dress up to some degree, and, you try to present yourself to each other in some halfway mutually acceptable manner. And you hope that there's going to be a positive consequence of that you're going to find each other attractive. But then people somehow think that once they're married, that the same amount of effort isn't necessary, and that's wrong.
Okay, so he's hitting the nail right on the head here with this. As I said earlier, remember what it took to get your husband or your wife. You have to try and make that same effort over the course of your life. Keep it the same. I'm guilty of it. I think we're all guilty that we become complacent in our relationships. We become complacent in our marriages. We tend, work, life, kids, bills, problems. It all gets in the way of sustaining an intimate relationship with your significant other or your spouse. A couple of weeks ago, we went on a trip, or I asked my wife if she would like to go on a trip for a couple of days, and we went to Vegas. Now, she's not a Vegas fan, but I like Vegas. And so obviously she complied and she agreed that we would go to Vegas for a couple of days. Now, when I go to Vegas, I don't go really to gamble or anything like that. I'm originally from back east, so I like the feel of what Vegas has to offer, all the action, the people, the food is fantastic. And so I made an effort to look into what we could do in Vegas so that when we got there, it wasn't a complete boring 2 days for her because she doesn't really like Vegas all that much. And if you can do this, make the effort if you want to go somewhere, how you could make it nice for the person going with you as well. So I booked a show to go see K.A. Cirque du Soleil, which was really affordable. It wasn't that much. It was like $69 per person. At least I don't think it was. It was definitely worth the money. If you ever have the opportunity to go to Vegas, watch that show. We also went to a nice place to go eat. Um, it was, I think it was like Chinese food. It was, well, it was Asian food, but it was very good. It was expensive, but it was good. We didn't eat like that the whole time, but that's what we did when we were there. Now, I also brought a cooler. It's one of those self, um, plug-in refrigerators. Brought it into the hotel room. We had lunch when we got to Vegas that I made and we put together, so we saved a little money. The goal here was to spend time with her. And I'm always telling her, let's spend time together. Let's go somewhere. Let's go do this. Even a walk to the park means a lot to me. So, and she tries to comply with that. She makes effort to go with me. I may even say, look, I'm gonna go pick up some of the loose garbage on the ground out there by, along the road, so we can have the road looking nice. Would you like to come with me? Hey, it's not going to the Ritz, but it's spending time that matters. Now, Jordan Peterson talks a little bit about spending at least 90 minutes a week. Obviously, I think you should spend a lot more time than that speaking with your wife or being with your wife. But he says about 90 minutes a week talking. So let's go on and see what else he has to say.
I would say more effort is necessary on the same front. And you have to think it through. It's like, if you don't want to be bitter about the intimate element of your relationship, how much time do you have to spend together each week? And my rule of thumb, sort of derived from clinical observations, is that you need to spend 90 minutes a week with your partner talking. And that means you're telling each other about your life and staying in touch, so that you each know what the other is up to. And you're discussing what needs to be done to keep the household running smoothly. And you're laying out some mutually acceptable vision of how the next week or the next months are going to go together, right? So that keeps your narratives locked together like the strands in a rope. You need that for 90 minutes or you drift apart. And you need to spend intimate time together at least once a week, and probably more like twice. And that has to be negotiated. And if you don't negotiate it, and if you don't make it a priority, then it won't happen, likelihood. And then, well.
Okay, this is a big one. Intimate time. What does intimate mean to you? Okay. Does it mean having a sexual encounter with your wife? Does it mean just spending time cuddling, watching a movie? Does it mean just holding hands and going for a walk? Well, it's all of the above, guys. It's all of the above. Now, I understand we get to a point in our lives when we don't always have time for all of that. But how much time does it actually take to go up to your wife or to your husband and say, I love you, I appreciate what you do for me? Give him that hug. Even a slight brush along the hair, telling him, as you pass by him or her, saying that you love them. That all matters. That all matters. It does something to this chemical in your body called the endorphins, man. It lights it up, and it just makes you feel accepted, wanted, appreciated, and loved. So it's those little gestures that you can do for each other to show that you truly care about the relationship. Okay, let's move on.
Well, then you don't have it. And that's a catastrophe, because there's not that many things in life that are, intrinsically, what would you say, engaging and meaningful and pleasurable and also bonding, all of that. And if you let that go, then, well, part of you dies and part of the relationship dies. And well, then there's always the possibility of becoming attracted by alternative entanglements, which you would do if you had any spirit left, right? I mean, that's the thing, is if your relationship at home is entirely.
That's an interesting point. He says that if you have any spirit in you to want to be active, sexually active, at least that's how I'm understanding this, and you're not getting that at home, then it can, if you have any spirit in you, you will, in some emotional way, go astray. You will look at other women. or men. You will, unfortunately, commit adultery. You will do these things, or maybe you won't, because you know that spiritually speaking, it's the wrong thing to do. But remember, when we have thoughts of another person, it's the same as committing the act. Okay? I know some of you may disagree with that, but we have to keep clean in mind and body. And so I think this is what he's talking about when he gets further into this conversation. So let's move on.
Unsatisfying sexually, what are you supposed to do with that? Nothing? You're supposed to just bear it? I mean, in one way, the answer is yes, because it's your marriage. But another way is, well, what, that's all the fight you've got in you? You're going to just let the erotic element of your life die and accept everything that goes along with that because you're not willing to cause a bit of trouble to ensure that it's maintained? And we're not very good at thinking these things through consciously. People are bad at negotiating, period, as far as I can tell. They're particularly bad at negotiating things that are deeply private. How much do you want your partner to know about you anyways? It takes a lot of trust to have a real conversation about what you need and want.
Okay. All right. That was good. It was short, straight to the point. Aside from all my talking, it was good. Okay. So anyway, let me know what you thought about this video, and the key to a happy marriage. Now, some of the things I wrote, I went to ChatGPT and I typed in what are the 5 things that keep a marriage together, or the 5 things that don't and the 5 things that do. So I'm just going to quickly go over what I found, and I kind of already knew, but ChatGPT seems to put it in some perspective here. So emotional support. That's the good thing about a strong relationship and a strong marriage, is that you get this emotional support that keeps it together. It provides a sort of a safe place, and it manages stress, anxiety, challenges, things of that nature. So, and I agree with this wholeheartedly. Having a tight relationship and a marriage, even though he's just talking about keys to a marriage, I believe this applies to a strong relationship that could lead to marriage as well, is it brings together a strong emotional support system. Personal growth is another one. Let's see, it's healthy, it's mature, you become more self-aware, there's a sense of empathy and compromise. So yeah, I would agree with that too. There are also health benefits. Studies has shown here that people committed to relationships tend to live longer. That's probably true. Like, I haven't done the scientific studies on it, but it sounds right. Like they say, if you don't have anyone and you have a dog that gives you an unconditional love, that you tend to live longer and happier. And so why couldn't that work the same for a significant, in a marriage? Okay. And then you have a shared purpose. This was another one that I thought was interesting. Being in a committed relationship or marriage can give greater meaning. So meaning that you can both have goals together and you can achieve them. You can build and create a strong sense of fulfillment together. So those are the things that I came across when doing a little research on some of the key factors of how a marriage can on what can help keep a marriage together. I personally like Jordan Peterson. I think he's a very intelligent man. He has a lot of good things to say about a lot of good things, And so anyway, feel free to comment. If you like this video and it's helped you in any small way or in a big way, feel free to like it. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.